the National Center on Scaling Up Effective Schools, we're focused on the core question of how can we achieve improvement at scale. We define scale as thinking about deep and consequential change that is sustained over time. We know from past efforts to scale effective programs that schools may adopt programs, but they encounter challenges in making those programs work in a specific context, developing local ownership, and developing and sustaining those programs over many years. We developed a model with 3 core principles designed to overcome these challenges. These principles include having an innovation that reflects core elements of practices shown to be effective in the district where the improvement work is occurring, engaging in continuous improvement through rapid cycle testing, and having a partnership that includes researchers and practitioners as equals in the work. We work with 2 large districts, including Broward County, Florida, and Fort Worth, Texas. This work has involved over a dozen faculty and staff members across 5 research universities, over 24 graduate students, 8 program developers at a national research and development organization, and over 200 administrators and teachers in our partner districts. We developed 2 innovations, 1 in each district, to scale effective practices in their high schools. Both innovations focus on building socio-emotional skills in students to improve their academic experiences. We refer to these as personalization for academic and social learning and student responsibility and ownership. In looking at results, we focused on we conducted over 700 interviews and focus groups with teachers and administrators involved in this work. We observed over 4 years of monthly or quarterly design team meetings. We surveyed hundreds of teachers and thousands of students, and also analyzed district administrative data to look at student outcomes. When we analyzed in Fort Worth, for example, the first year results, we used a difference in difference approach to compare student outcomes in participating to non-participating schools. What we found was that students in participating schools were absent 2 fewer days, and for every 5 students in a school were failing 1 fewer course than if they were in a participating school. We also learned that teachers report that students are more aware of their grades and are more likely to use language such as the grade that I earned rather than the grade that the teacher gave me. In Broward, we found that teachers have a greater awareness of student needs and of their socio-emotional status. We found that there were improved student-teacher relationships, a greater sense of belonging among students, and more collaboration among teachers around student needs. We've also seen improvements in teacher leadership and local ownership of the innovation practices, and these findings around teacher leadership have been particularly important to the district administrators involved in the work. We also learned about the process of scaling up. For example, we learned about the tensions between the role of top-down and bottom-up support in a model such as ours that prioritized a bottom-up approach that emphasized teacher leadership and local ownership. There were questions around how district and school leadership should be involved in this effort, how they should support the educators involved, and how resources are allocated. For example, while teachers supported the socio-emotional emphasis of the innovation practices, there were many challenges they had in integrating the practices into their existing organizations without active support from administrators. We also learned that we need to carefully balance having an adequately specified innovation so that educators have clear expectations while also leaving room for local adaptation. A scale-up model that fosters local adaptation needs to be clear on the elements that are core to the innovation and the goals they are trying to achieve. We also learned about how educators respond to reform efforts that involve continuous improvement. They approached this work with both enthusiasm and skepticism. They were enthusiastic because they valued gathering feedback and evidence on what they were accomplishing, and they wanted to respond to teacher and student feedback. But they were also skeptical about the amount of time required for documenting and collecting data, and concerned about how data that they collect for purposes of improvement may be used in a high-stakes accountability context.